This video is meant to demonstrate the histology of the urinary system. The organs of the urinary system include the kidneys, ureters, bladder, and urethra. And the kidneys have two regions we'll look at, the medulla and the cortex. The cortex, which is always around the outside, contains the nephrons, or functional units of the kidneys, those structures that actually make urine, and the medulla is mostly the collecting ducts. The ureters carry the urine that has been formed in the kidney to the bladder, and the bladder is really just a temporary storage container for urine. And it has an epithelium called transitional epithelium, transitional because it can change shape depending on how full the bladder is. And it has a very large detrusor muscle, really 3 layers of muscle working together to empty the bladder. And then the urethra carries urine from the bladder to the outside of the body. The slides I'm going to be looking at come from the Ohio State University Medical Center, one of the kidney and one of the bladder. This is a slide of the kidney, and I can see the 2 distinct regions. Over on this side is the cortex, and this side is the medulla. As I zoom in here, a nephron consists of a glomerulus, and then it consists of renal tubules. And so this structure here, these 3 in a row, are called glomeruli. That would be plural. And a glomerulus is just a knot of capillaries. And this is where the filtration of the blood takes place. And then this little white space around the glomerulus would be called the capsular space, because then this simple squamous cells here, this layer, make up what's called the Bowman's capsule or glomerular capsule. So you have the glomerulus, the glomerular capsule, and then the capsular space in between. And here's another one. Here's the glomerulus. This layer here is your capsule, and then the space in between is the capsular space. And as blood is being filtered in the glomerulus, the filtrate, whatever is leaving, enters the capsule, and then it goes into the tubule. So this portion here would actually be called the proximal convoluted tubule. So, and this, the glomerulus is made of capillaries or blood vessels. The capsule is made up of simple squamous epithelium. Now as I zoom out again, and then all of these renal tubules here are simple cuboidal epithelium. As I move into the region that is the medulla, you can see almost all of these are going to be tubes. These are the collecting ducts, and so they are also going to be simple cuboidal epithelium. And really not much is going on here. There's no filtering here. There is some adjustment of fluid volume, but most of these, mostly it's just carrying the urine that was formed in the nephrons to the ureter. As we move to the bladder, remember I said this is just really a temporary storage container. This is the lumen, or the opening, the open part of the bladder. There is a mucosa with a the transitional epithelium. This is actually the lamina propria, the connective tissue underneath. We have a submucosa, relatively thin layer of submucosa, and then from here all the way out is that detrusor muscle. There's 3 layers of muscle that help squeeze the bladder when it needs to be emptied. And then out here would be the serosa, and here it would be called the visceral peritoneum because it is in the abdominal pelvic cavity, and so it's going to be called the visceral peritoneum. As I magnify here on the mucosa, on the epithelium, transitional epithelium, this section of bladder is empty, and so all of these cells here kind of have a domed shape appearance. They're all very curved on the top, and these are sometimes called umbrella cells, but this first layer here towards the lumen are going to have this dome shape, and that's going to allow, as the bladder fills, these cells will be able to stretch, they'll flatten out, and allow more fluid to fit into the bladder. But this is the mucosa, this is the transitional epithelium. Way back here, this is all that lamina propria. This is just another section of that. And our muscular layer is over here. And so this would be smooth muscle. We don't have control over whether the bladder contracts or not. And so we see smooth muscle fibers going in a couple different directions because we have 3 different layers and they're each in 3 different directions. I hope this video helps you understand the histology of the urinary system.